Chapter 336 Rescued from the Sword of Islam, Part 2. Shamma's husband was called Joshua Thomason. His father was a senator in the United States Congress. Joshua was against the idea of his girlfriend traveling to Saudi Arabia and doing her fieldwork in such backward society and among barbaric men who looked at and treated women like meat. It was his love for Shamma that made him compromise and agree to travel with her. At first, Shamma wanted to go all alone and do her fieldwork and search for her Saudi father. When the Saudi embassy rejected her visa because she had no husband or any close male relative to travel with her, Joshua felt inwardly relieved because she now wanted him to come along. He knew that his girlfriend would need a man to protect her from those sexually perverted men who could see nothing in the woman except a body. After their arrival in Saudi Arabia, Joshua felt as if they landed in an open prison. Everything was different and life in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was understandably boring for Shamma and Joshua. They had no entertainment venues. There were no movie theaters, nightclubs, or bars. Whatever liquor they brought with them was seized at the Jeddah International Airport. Ever since their arrival, they could not find a place to buy even a can of beer. Whenever they went for food they found the restaurant inevitably divided into two sections, the men's and the women's section. The local women looked like moving ghosts in their huge black abayas, cloaks. Women are not allowed to speak in public because the woman's voice is awara, which means the female private parts. Those fully concealed women made Joshua and Shamma distinctly uneasy. They were afraid that underneath one of those moving black burqas there might be a male terrorist who might attack them simply because they were white. Being Americans, that made them vulnerable to the terrorists' kidnap. Anyone would forgive Joshua counting the days for his wife to finish her fieldwork and return to their free and civilized society. Joshua had a degree in law and specialized in the international law. The brutal and cruel murder of his wife had just turned his life upside down. He had no one to stand with him. He wept bitterly when the hospital declared his wife dead. After overcoming the impact of her death, he made 2 phone calls. First, he called Shamma's mother in Baghdad and broke to her the sad news. After that, he phoned his father and informed him about the murder of his wife and the reason behind her assassination. That day, while they were returning from the office of Sheikh Ahmed, Shamma narrated to Joshua what had happened between her and the sponsor of the maidservant who sent her to inquire about her 8-year-old daughter. She even used her cell phone and recorded every word they spoke to each other. After hearing the conversation between his wife and the old Saudi man, which Shamma translated it to him, Joshua concluded that the old Saudi man was hiding the little girl somewhere and most probably was raping her under the pretense of marriage. Wherefore, Joshua convinced Shamma to take the case of the small Indian girl to the police. Shamma was planning to go to the police as soon as she meet Rayhana and tell her what she heard about her daughter from her Saudi sponsor. Joshua's father told his son to leave Saudi Arabia as soon as possible and return to the United States of America. The father was worried that the same person who murdered his daughter-in-law might come after his son and kill him. Joshua refused to listen to his father and decided to stay in Jeddah until the person who killed his wife was brought to justice. The first report that Joshua heard from the police regarding the car that hit his wife and killed her was that the driver was a Somali young man by the name of Abdul Gader Ibrahim. He was arrested under the charges of drinking and driving and causing the death of a woman. The report also showed that the car belonged to a Saudi businessman by the name of Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed. The Somali man was the chauffeur of the businessman. Sheikh Ahmed was in the car when the accident took place. Joshua rejected that false story because he met the Somali man in the office of Sheikh Ahmed and talked to him. The Somali man approached him while he was waiting for his wife and talked to him. He had requested Joshua's help in emigrating to the United States of America. From his speech, Joshua knew that the Somali wasn't drunk. He went to the police and informed them that the story of drinking and driving wasn't true. He said it was a made-up story, which meant to cover up the crime that Sheikh Ahmed committed against his wife, who wanted to expose him to the law. Then, he told them about the case of the Indian maidservant and her daughter. The police rejected Joshua's claim as preposterous and told him to leave it to the courts to decide. Joshua insisted that his statement about the Somali driver should be included in the case. The police did not agree. When the police denied his statement, Joshua threatened to take the matter to a higher authority. He told the Saudi police that his father is a senator in the Congress of the United States and he would use the authority of his father and report the assassination of his wife to the King of Saudi Arabia. By revealing to the Saudi police that his father was a congressman, Joshua had inadvertently exposed his identity and put himself in danger. The Saudi policemen placed him under arrest for trying to use the position of his father to scare them. The arrest of the son of the American senator in Jeddah leaked to the media and spread all over the world. At first, the international media concentrated on the arrest of the Senator Thomason's son. He was arrested by the Jeddah police under the charge of trying to use the position of his father to twist the hand of the Saudi police. The international media was quick to express concern about the safety of a senator's son inside a Saudi prison. It is well-known fact that the jails in Saudi Arabia are full of Al-Qaeda's terrorists. Therefore, the son of the Senator Thomason would not fare well at all in prison. It didn't help that Senator Thomason was one of the American congressmen who voted in the favor of the war on terror in Afghanistan and Iraq. With the arrest of the American congressman's son, the White House mobilized the CIA, who in turn contacted the highest police authority in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to demand the immediate release of the senator's son. At first, the Saudi authorities refused to release him, but when the King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud stepped in, Joshua Thomason was released and taken directly to the Jeddah International Airport and sent off on the next flight. Joshua Thomason reached the United States of America before the body of his murdered wife arrived. His deportation from Saudi Arabia was carried out against his wishes. He was prepared to stay behind and fight the case of his late wife. On his arrival, in New York, given the circumstances of his incarceration, he was interviewed by many of the leading news desks. Working the media, he related the reason behind the assassination of his wife. Moreover, he also convinced his father to request the CIA to send a qualified team of investigators to probe the suspicious death of an American citizen on Saudi soil. Shortly after Joshua's arrival, his wife's remains arrived in New York. Shama's mother flew in from Baghdad to attend the funeral of her daughter. The burial concluded, a team of 7 CIA members arrived at Jeddah and began their investigation into the murder of the Senator Peter Thomason's daughter-in-law. The CIA team had already been briefed by Joshua and had a general idea as to what had happened. Their first move on Saudi soil was to force the Jeddah police to include Joshua's statement, particularly about the Somali chauffeur who hit his wife and killed her. Joshua stated that he met the Somali chauffeur and talked to him in the office of the suspect, Sheikh Ahmed, and received his personal card. He gave the card of the Somali man to the CIA team. Joshua had the foresight to hand over the recorded conversation between his late wife and Sheikh Ahmed concerning the Indian maidservant's daughter. That achieved, the CIA team tried to question the Somali. The Jeddah police's knee-jerk response was to hinder the investigation and prevent the meeting. When threatened to make this matter known to the royal family, they acquiesced, and allowed them to speak to the detained Somali. Under interrogation by the experienced American team, the Somali changed his statement. He vindicated Joshua's allegation and admitted being sober when he hit the white woman. In an effort to escape culpability, he claimed that he was speeding when he lost control and hit the white woman. The investigative team remained unconvinced of his innocence. The team then informed him that his employer has already made a statement to the effect that he was drunk when he hit the woman. The Somali was shocked. It was clear to him that Sheikh Ahmed had double-crossed him and testified against him. He was under the impression that it was the Jeddah police who nailed him with the charge of drinking and driving. He thought that all this while, Sheikh Ahmed was supporting his claim that he lost control of the car and hit the woman accidentally. In fact, that was what his employer had rehearsed with him. Crushed, the Somali now saw that Sheikh Ahmed wanted to wash his hands of the affair and use him as a scapegoat. He understood that if he remained quiet and did not expose Sheikh Ahmed, he would either get beheaded or remain in jail indefinitely. The only option open to him was to tell the truth and implicate his employer. He reasoned that the sentence would either be split between the two of them, or else Sheikh Ahmed would be more culpable because he had masterminded the crime, with him merely as an accessory. So, Abdul Gader Ibrahim took the only option left to him and told the CIA team the truth, the woman with the intention of killing her, stating exactly why he had done so. The CIA did not reveal this new information to the Jeddah police or the media, as investigations were still underway. They demanded to interrogate Sheikh Ahmed. Once they had established that Shama was murdered by Sheikh Ahmed, they needed a motive. Joshua's testimony gave them some idea of the circumstances around Shama's murder, but now they were keen to know who Rayhana Khan was and where the Saudi man had hidden her daughter. Before meeting the old Saudi, they contacted Joshua Thomason and advised where his late wife met the mother of the missing Indian girl. Joshua told them that Shama met Rayhana Khan in the Jeddah women's jail and interviewed her regarding her stoning sentence. Then, he sent them a copy of the interview, which he found in the laptop of his late wife. Through the interview, the CIA team was able to build a rudimentary profile around both Rayhana and her daughter. Their first suspicion was that Sheikh Ahmed nailed his Indian maidservant with false crime and sent her to jail and got her sentenced to be stoned to death because he wanted to rape her little daughter. Like Shama and Joshua, the team surmised that Sheikh Ahmed was hiding the daughter somewhere so that he could rape her without raising suspicion. It stood to reason that Shama had stumbled onto his secret and the Saudi decided to kill her before she could implicate him. The CIA team expected that if they confronted Sheikh Ahmed outright with his crimes, he might kill the small girl and get rid of the evidence. So began their search for the little girl's location. The cell phone recording of the conversation Joshua and his wife gave them their first lead. Analyzing the conversation, they suspected that he had fabricated a story about sending the daughter to her relatives in India. The team felt that the child was never sent to India, and made plans to confirm that theory. At this stage in their investigation, they requested to interview the convicted maidservant of Sheikh Ahmed. This time the police did not try to stop them from meeting Rayhana Khan. When the American team met Rayhana, it was a month from the date of her execution. Rayhana narrated her rape by the two Jeddah police officers when she had arrived. She told them about the false accusation of being professional prostitute that led the Sharia court sentencing her to be stoned to death. Then, she begged the team to find and bring her daughter to her that she could see her before she died. Rayhana's tragic story touched a nerve with many of the CIA team members, tearing some who had never wept before. Her testimony convinced the 7-member team of her innocence. When the team related her sponsor's claim that he sent her daughter to her relatives in Bombay, Rayhana refused to believe his story. She said that her daughter would not be able to find her way from the Bombay International Airport to her slum area. No one else could get her daughter back to her slum except her. Moreover, the Indian client of her sponsor did not know where she was living and he would not possibly find where her daughter used to live before she came with her to Saudi Arabia. Rayhana concluded her statement by saying that her Saudi sponsor lied about sending her daughter to India. The CIA team members found themselves dealing with more serious crimes than the murder of the wife of the son of the American senator. They understood that the only way to stop the Jeddah court from stoning the innocent Indian woman was to expose her sponsor and find her daughter. As before, it was imperative they not interrogate Sheikh Ahmed before locating the small girl. His conversation with the late American woman gave them some clue about the place where the Saudi man was hiding the girl. In that recording, the sheikh was heard to say that he had sent the daughter to Bombay. But, when Shama asked him for proof, he showed her the copies of the air tickets that issued for the daughter and his former Pakistani chauffeur. The tickets showed that the daughter and the chauffeur flew via India and Philippines, but their final destination was Asmara and not Bombay. The team decided they would definitely have to check this discrepancy and find out if the little girl was hidden away in Eritrea. The first logical stop for the American team was the Asmara International Airport. They made inquiries as to the arrival of the suspects from Jeddah named Sabir Ibrahim Shah and Ifat Khan. The airport authority confirmed the arrival of the two passengers in question. As soon as the arrival of Ifat Khan at Eritrea was confirmed, the CIA team contacted the Asmara police and reported the kidnap of an Indian minor girl by a Pakistani man. Within 24 hours, the Asmara police contacted the American team and informed them that the girl was found and the Pakistani man was arrested. When the police interrogated him, the Pakistani man claimed that he did not kidnap the girl, but he was employed by his Arab sponsor in Jeddah to bring her to him at Asmara. After their arrival in Eritrea, his sponsor married the girl. The CIA team informed the Asmara police that the minor girl was kidnapped from her mother in Jeddah and sent to Eritrea. On this basis, the team demanded that the girl to be sent to Jeddah as soon as possible. They asked the same of the Pakistani. After unearthing the entire plot of Sheikh Ahmed, the CIA members congratulated each other for their brilliant work and celebrated their clever discovery of one of the most mysterious and convoluted crimes ever committed by a human being on Earth. Their happiness only increased when they understood that the entire world was going to praise them for rescuing a woman from being stoned to death and freeing a female child from an old man who kidnapped, imprisoned, and raped her. In addition, the world would appreciate their efforts in proving that the old Saudi man who murdered the daughter-in-law of the Senator Peter Thomason. When everything became clear as the sun, the team handed over a copy of their investigations and demanded that Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed to be apprehended and charged with those serious crimes that he committed against 3 innocent foreign women, Rayhana, Ifat, and Shama. As soon as the CIA team submitted their official report, Sheikh Ahmed was placed under arrest. Shortly after his arrest, Ifat and Sabir were brought back to Jeddah. The CIA team members appeared in various international TV channels and disclosed the hideous crimes that a wealthy Saudi business tycoon committed against 3 innocent foreign women from India and America. Nevertheless, the happiness and celebration of the members of the CIA team was short-lived. Sheikh Ahmed was detained and interrogated by the Jeddah police and released on bail after 24 hours. After questioning him about the alleged kidnap and rape of the female child of his former Indian maidservant, the Jeddah police waived him of those serious crimes. He was able to prove to the Saudi police that he legally married Ifat Khan and lawfully gave her enough time before he consummated his marriage with her. He admitted that he tied her up for 1 year according to the blessed Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad and had sexual intercourse with her when she completed the lawful age of 9 years old in compliance with the Sharia law. He challenged the police to find out from his wife Ifat Khan if he did sex with her before she became woman at the age of 9. He steadfastly denied he had bribed his former Somali chauffeur and convinced him to hit the American woman. He claimed that the American CIA team had convinced his former chauffeur to alter his statement because they promised to release him from jail and send him to the USA. When Ifat Khan arrived at Jeddah, she was 11 years old and pregnant. She had already been in the child marriage for 3 long years. The CIA team members were shocked when they came to know that the Jeddah police had released Sheikh Ahmed and allowed him to possess his child wife again. Their consciences troubled them more when they learned that Ifat was pregnant with his child at 11. They also came to know that the Jeddah police had dropped the charges of kidnap and rape against the old Saudi man. The 7 members of CIA team stormed the police headquarters of Jeddah and demanded the immediate arrest of the kidnapper and rapist and the release of his victim from him. If they were not from America, the Jeddah police would have arrested all the 7 members of the CIA team and got them beheaded or stoned the following Friday. The team reached to the point of calling the Jeddah police barbarians, bastards, animals, criminals, sons of bitches, and gave them the F word openly. A female member from the team in her anger said that if the Indian maidservant's child would not be released from her Saudi kidnapper and rapist within 24 hours, the American army would move from Iraq and invade Saudi Arabia and blow up all the mentally retarded and sexually perverted fucking Arabs. No matter what words they used and what threats they made, the CIA team could not change the decision of the Jeddah police. Finally, the American team decided to refer the case to the royal family. Prudently, they involved the Indian government too. First, the CIA team wrote a huge report about the entire story of Rehana, Ifat, and Shama. Then, they uploaded it in the internet and circulated it all over the world. The case of Rehana drew the attention and sympathy of millions of people. Her photo was circulated through emails, Twitters, and Facebook. The outside world demanded the stop of the stoning of the Indian maidservant. Furthermore, the world demanded that Rehana's daughter should be released from her rapist. Secondly, the CIA team complained to the royal family. Thirdly, they referred the case of the Indian girl to the Indian government. The royal family placed the stoning of Rehana on hold and ordered the Jeddah police to investigate the claim of the Indian maidservant regarding that she had conceived her baby through rape. Moreover, the royals decreed that the court should retry her charges of having two husbands at the same time. The Indian consulate at Jeddah also stepped in and demanded the immediate release of the underage Indian girl who allegedly was being kidnapped, imprisoned, and raped by an old Saudi man. The Jeddah police rejected the demand of the Indian consulate. Regardless, Ifat Khan was taken away from Sheikh Ahmed after the royal family ordered her release. The royal family also ordered the Sharia court to conduct a new hearing regarding the validity of the marriage of Sheikh Ahmed and Ifat Khan and rule accordingly. On the street, the news that a child wife had been taken away from her lawful husband created uproar. The Saudi imams of the mosques preached openly their sermons and condemned the royal family for allowing the American CIA to interfere in the judicial system of Saudi Arabia. They said that the marriage of the old Saudi man and the Indian girl was lawful in every aspect and there was nothing in the marriage contract, which infringed the Islamic law. The condemning sermons of the Saudi clerics moved the hearts of the masses and created great havoc and restlessness around the country and all over the Arab countries. When the royal family felt the danger of the great threat of the angry masses, they published an official royal decree and justified their decision on keeping on hold the marriage relation between the Saudi man and his Indian wife. According to the decree, the Saudi men are not allowed, by royal decree, to marry non-Saudi women. The royal decree appeased the angry crowds temporarily. However, the masses were moved again when a great Egyptian preeminent leader openly condemned the royal family for making law contradicted the blessed Islamic Sharia law. The preeminent leader was known as Sheikh Yusuf al-Qaradawi. After condemning the royal family, al-Qaradawi issued a fatwa, a religious council ruling, demanding that Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed should be allowed to get his Indian wife back and take her to another Muslim country where the government wasn't a hypocritical, but following faithfully the Sharia of Allah and his Prophet Muhammad. He even suggested some Muslim countries by names: Sudan, Somalia, Eritrea, and Pakistan. It has been alleged that this great religious leader is behind all the current ongoing revolutions in the Arab countries, which is known the Arab Spring. He is using Al Jazeera TV to instigate and move the masses in each Arab country to overthrow their current regimes. Al-Qaradawi today is one of the prominent leaders and pillars of the Muslim Brotherhood. He is working hard to fulfill the dream of the early founders of the Muslim Brotherhood, Hassan al-Banna and Sayyid Qutb, who wanted to restore the traditional Islamic caliphate to the Muslim world and use Sharia as the only form of governing Muslims. So far, his followers succeeded in overthrowing Tunisian, Egyptian, Libyan, and Sudanese secular regimes and creating Islamic governments. If his dream comes true, the Arab Spring will turn into world nightmare.